Alright, let's talk about Forests of Adrimon. Why are we talking about Forests of Adrimon? Because Fall of the Ancients, the book that I showed, suggested that you should first get yourself acquainted with the base game. So here we are. The base game, however, gave me a lot of problems, and there are thousands of people who bought the base game for Hexplore It too, and I suspect that not many people actually managed to set it up, or let alone complete it. To that end, I tried several times to set it up, but I failed. The problem is the rules. They are not great. I printed out the LCG cards, the living card game fronts, but I never built a complete set. And I got told that Explore It is more of a system, where holes in the rules allow for house ruling and interpreting as you go, which is what even the creator himself does. The rule philosophy is to write with only the default most common case in mind. So the exceptions should be housed away, and I do not accept that. But I do want to try out the adventure book for Forests of Adrimon, Fota in short. Now, after I received the Fall of the Ancients crowdfunding product, it recommended to play a few games of for Forests of Adrimon. I ran into several confusions, asked around on Discord, where a certain Dartus proved to be a great friend, and he helped with ironing out the bottlenecks for setup. In about a month ago, I decided that a proper focused instruction set would be extremely necessary, so I searched online for help. There were very few videos. Board Game Geek also had very few files, and all the information was fragmented, faulty, or generally lacking, and Reddit was also unhelpful. In short, I wanted to write a tutorial that I had to write, and I had to write one from scratch. That cost me the last week and half of this week. So I established a baseline, and the index of the rulebook, RB, and the storybook, SB, in here, were completely helpless. They're incomplete, and they only show one entry, where lots of things are cross-referenced by the text itself. So the index should have to be redone completely. Second point is that I found the Valor system for the bonuses after repeat plays was undeveloped. So there is a Valor system where it's very rudimentary, but you have this Valor score in 74, and here there are certain achievements. So they had some vague idea of how to make the progress appealing after your first playthrough to entice you to play again. But as you can see, you cannot write your score here. These things are defeat Adrimon on starter difficulty is good, but then the next one is to defeat Adrimon on epic difficulty, which would take you 100 plus hours with no visible progress in between. But it gave me some ideas, so I thought it was a good idea to have some kind of roguelite scoring system. But I made one which is far more detailed than this one, which I'm going to showcase soon. But you need some background because otherwise you wouldn't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. The circumstance deck always bothered me. So in this game you are shown five random cards, and this is more or less the setup. And there are these circumstance cards, event cards, if you will. They come from the event deck, circumstance deck, and these are uniformly random, so they don't care about your game state or where you are. It's always the same distribution. But imagine that if you are in a hill territory, you would not expect swamp or forest encounters because you are not there. So the presence of what hex you are on should influence the encounters that you could have. Mariucci, the designer, also realized that. So what he did was he came up with an optional circumstance setup, and it was it's in the storybook. Where is it? Circumstance tables 36. So there is only one entry. This circumstance table is unfortunately not only does it have typos, it also mixes up the expansion entries. For example, Pristine Glen here is it's part of the expansion. So you cannot use this circumstance table as it is, because you would have to fill in the expansion only things. These icons are not complete because ethereal shard, for example, is in the base game, but it's mentioned as an expansion card, so you cannot trust the icons. They made a complete mess of this this idea, so they designed it and then never playtested it. The hex roll, because you roll without memory, that is, across these forest cards. So the idea is good, and if you roll a hex, then you get to the epic table. And I had a lot of trouble finding the epic table because everything it looks the same, right? So you have here this epic table. Now what I also had, what is also apparent is that if you are on a hex adjacent to the Acropolis, you can be on a forest hex, because the city where the Acropolis spawns can be any of these three. But if this is the top table, you will never get to the bottom table. So there is an ordering in these tables that they completely overlooked. So you would have to check for the Acropolis, and then the battle site, and then the Thralled city, or 1, 2, 3 better. And as a fallback, if none of these apply, then you would use the top tables. So I completely revamped this circumstance table so that it would work for only the base game, because that is the sole purpose here, is to get it set up as efficiently as possible and only focus on the base game, because the base game is supported by the Fall of the Ancients. And if you really like it, then you can always get the expansion and other stuff. But this is a completely misleading book, because it more or less it mocks you for not having bought the expansion. The noble, for example, is worked out as an enemy in the expansion, and it has its own placard, and that is these plastic atrocities, these placards, where the stats are and the optional attacks are described. But in the base game you don't have the noble, so this should have been split into a more honest book. Not to speak of that, I hate the sans serif font choice and the general structure of the book. It's there's half of the stuff is in this book and half of the stuff is in this book, but how to set it up is completely beyond anyone, or mostly anyone. So this, I think, enough for today. So you will see the most efficient setup and the achievement list, and also the circumstance deck as it should be, and as it works for the base game. Okay, thank you and bye.